What is good, YouTube? It's Daniel back at it again with another YouTube tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to do a Schedule 2 inspection on an F-Class vehicle, okay? So let's get straight into it. Okay, first thing your examiner might ask is for you to inspect the exhaust system. So we got to turn the car on. Okay, so to examine the exhaust system, you got to turn the vehicle on, roll up the windows. You got to get all these controls too. Okay, you got to turn it on front facing, heating. You got to smell if there's any exhaust coming into the cab. Okay, I don't smell any exhaust. I don't smell any exhaust in the cab. So now we can go outside and check the engine. To pop the hood, the controller's down here. By the way, this tutorial is on a 9-foot U-Haul. Okay, so that's what you need to rent for this F-Class test, is a 9-foot U-Haul. And yeah, anyway. Okay, so you open up the hood. There's a little latch here. You push it up. Simple. And you smell for any exhaust. I don't smell any exhaust coming from the engine. And then you get down and you look underneath and you look for any exhaust leaks. You get down under the front. There's no exhaust leaks. There's no damage to the exhaust system, and it's securely attached to the vehicle. Now we do the same thing on the side. You get down on your knees, look under, and you say, the exhaust system is securely attached to the vehicle, there's no leaks, and there's no damage. Okay, and you get under the back. Same thing. The exhaust system is secure to the vehicle. You gotta get down on your knees, go under. Fuck you. I'm talking to them, not you. I'm talking to the viewers. Okay, viewers, so if you're gonna do this, you gotta get down on your knees and look under. I'm not doing that because it's wet outside. But here, I'll show them the exhaust system. See that? That's the exhaust pipe right there, and then it connects further down there. So there's no leaks. There's no leaks coming from it, and it's securely attached. Okay, so now we got to read the schedule. You got to read the defects. So minor defects for the exhaust system is an exhaust leak. If I were to find this, I would report it to my operator, write it in my logbook, but I can still operate the vehicle. Major defect would be leak that causes gas to enter the occupant's compartment. If I find this, I log it in my logbook, report it to my operator, and I cannot drive the vehicle. Next, your examiner could ask you to inspect the exterior body and frame. So I'll show you how to do that. You got to pop the hood again. You got to take a look under here. So I'm looking at the frame. It's not shifted, it's not sagging, it's not damaged, and it's not at risk of collapsing. You can take a look on the other side. The frame is the big metal bars going across the U-Haul underneath, holding everything together. So yeah, it's not shifting, not sagging, not at risk of collapsing. Now you gotta look under the front. Okay, viewers, you gotta bend down, look under the front. Say the same thing. The frame, you could even say the frame and frame members for a little bonus marks are not at risk of collapsing, they're not shifting, not sagging, and they're not damaged. And you repeat the same thing, you go under the side, say the same thing, then you look under the back, and you say the same thing. You get it? So that's the frame. A part of this section is to check the body. So to check the body, you can kick the bumper. Bumper is secure. There's no damage to the front of the U-Haul or bus. There's no damage to the side of it. The door is secure. The step is secure. The rear bumper is secure. And there's no damage to the back. And these back doors are secure. You can ask your examiner if they want you to check the other side. They probably don't. So then you read your defects. Defects would be insecure or missing body parts, insecure or missing compartment door, damaged frame or body, If any of these are found, you report it to your operator, log it in your logbook, but you can still drive the vehicle. Major defects would be visibly shifted, cracked, collapsing, or sagging frame or frame members. If this is found, you cannot drive the vehicle, and you got to log it in your logbook, report it to your supervisor, and yeah. Next, fuel system. So to inspect the fuel system, pop this open. You see the fuel cap is there. It's secure. You can undo it. You can feel around. There's no evidence of any fuel leaks by the fuel cap. Click it back into place. Okay, it clicks, it's secure. And then you look underneath. Here, I'll show them this. Hay que perrearla, no te vayas, quédate. Yeah, so for the fuel system, you want to look underneath. Check the fuel tank, make sure it's not leaking. You got to say, fuel tank is not leaking, it's not damaged, and it's secure to the vehicle. And then you read your defects. There's no minor defects. The major defects would be missing fuel tank cap, insecure fuel tank, or dripping fuel leak. If any of these are found, I gotta log it in my logbook, report it to my operator, and the vehicle may be moved when no passengers are carried. Glass and mirrors, it's easy, okay? You gotta make sure the windows are rolled up. They might ask you to check this on the exterior. So roll up your windows and say you have full visibility through your windows. They're not cracked or damaged. You gotta go around, look at those. And the mirrors, you gotta make sure the mirror is secure. You have full visibility through your mirror and it's not cracked or damaged. And then you read your defects. I'm not gonna do it. You guys can figure that out. Okay, next is the hydraulic brake system. They might ask you to inspect this. So if you want to get back in, I'll show them how to. All right, so to make sure the hydraulic brake system is operational, what you need to do is pump the brakes. Just got to pump them. Keep pumping, and then hold it down, start the car, and it dropped down. I don't know if you saw that, but the brake dropped, so that means it's working. Next, we got to check the brake fluid under the hood. Okay, so in this U-Haul, the brake fluid is right over here in this container. So I can see it's not damaged, it's not leaking. Okay, that's good. And then you check the fluid level. The fluid level is above the minimum. I think the minimum's a quarter. This one's way full. Okay, and it's not leaking. Then you gotta look under the U-Haul and say that you don't see any leaks. You can take a look at the brake lines. Here, I'm gonna see if I can show brake lines. Okay, where are they? And if you look under, you can see the hydraulic fluid brake lines, and you can say that those aren't leaking either. They're by each wheel. If you want to go above and beyond. A part of the hydraulic brake system defects is the parking brake. You can ask your examiner if they want you to check the parking brake. If so, you would just press it down. Here, I'll show you where the parking brake is at on this U-Haul. So this is the parking brake. You would press it down and you start the car, put it into drive, see if it works. And then to release the parking brake, you pull on this handle here. Simple enough. And then you want to read off all the defects for this section. Okay, next is the suspension system. They might ask you to inspect the airbag. U-Hauls do not have an air suspension system. There's no airbag, but they might still ask you. So you can say that you could pretend that this tire is the airbag. What you would do is you grab it, you shake it, you say the airbag is secure. You can feel the airbag. There's no leaks. You don't hear any leaks. You don't see any leaks. You don't feel any leaks. It feels inflated and it's secure. And it's not deflated. or damaged. So then you read your defects. In the suspension system section, you only want to read the airbag parts, okay? You don't want to read the other parts. If they tell you to inspect the airbag, you got to read the airbag portion. So minor defect would be air leak in the air suspension system. If this is found, you know, you get it, report it to your operator, but you can still drive. Major defects would be a damaged or deflated airbag. You know what to say, guys, come on, say it with me. Report it to your operator, log it in your logbook, and you cannot drive the vehicle. Okay. The next portion of the suspension system they might ask you to inspect is the suspension fasteners. Now there's a few of them, and I'll show you. I'll sneak my phone under the whatever. So one of them is down there. That's a suspension fastener. Down in the middle. Okay, those are U-bolt fasteners. Right there, U-bolt fasteners. That back there is a suspension fastener. And those bolts there are suspension fasteners. So if you can reach them, then you would check if they're tight. You gotta wiggle the U-bolts a little bit, make sure they're secure and not loose. And then you read your schedule again. So in the suspension system section, you only want to read the parts that are related to the fasteners if they ask you to inspect the fasteners. So minor defect would be suspension fasteners loose, missing, or broken. If this is found, you know what to say. Major defect would be a cracked or broken main. Ignore that. Retake, cut. Major defect would be a loose U-bolt. If that's found, you report it to your operator, log it in your logbook, you cannot drive the vehicle.
Boom.
Next. Okay, we're almost done. Wait, no. Okay, they might ask you to check the spring leaves. So the top spring leaf there, right here, this thing, that's the main spring leaf, the one at the very top. You want to make sure all the spring leaves are aligned. You got to say they're all aligned, they're not damaged, they're not shifted, and they're not in contact with any other vehicle components. And then you read off the defects that are related to the spring leaves. So minor defect is broken spring leaf. Major defect is cracked or broken main spring leaf, or more than one broken spring leaf, or part of spring leaf or suspension is missing, shifted, out of place, or in contact with another vehicle component. You can say that all the spring leaves are present too. That would be good. Okay, they might ask you to check for a tire leak. To do that, you rub your hand along the sidewall. You say you don't feel any leaks, you don't hear any leaks, and you don't see any leaks. Kick it, the tire pressure is good. Do the same thing for the tread. You don't feel any leaks, you don't see any leaks, you don't hear any leaks. And then you want to check the back sidewall as well. Check around there, and you can get underneath, look at the back sidewall and say that you don't see any leaks, you didn't feel any leaks, and you didn't see, feel, or hear any leaks. And the tire is not flat. So then you read your defects that are related to a tire leak, which is tire leaking. If leak cannot be heard, that's a minor defect. Also, you got to make sure the tire section is the updated version. A lot of schedules out there are outdated when it comes to the tire section, so you got to print off the updated one off the MTO website. So if it doesn't have this exact wording, you're gonna fail. So minor defect would be tire leaking if leak cannot be heard. That's a minor defect. If you find that, you report it to your supervisor, log it in your logbook, but you can still drive the vehicle. Major defect would be a flat tire or a tire leaking if leak can be felt or heard. And if those are found, you would report it to your operator, log it in your logbook, and you cannot drive the vehicle. They might ask you to check for tire damage. So you run your hand along the sidewall, you say there's no exposed cords, you don't feel any damage, you don't see any damage, no lacerations. You go along the top of the tread, you say the same thing, there's no exposed cords, there's no damage, no lacerations. and the tread depth is at least 1.5 millimeters at the back, it's got to be at least 3 millimeters at the front. And then you do the same thing at the back sidewall. You say you don't feel any damage. You get under, take a look, say you don't see any damage, no lacerations, and no exposed cords. And you gotta say that the tire is not in contact with any other vehicle component other than a mud flap. The U-Haul doesn't have a mud flap, but still gotta say that. And then you gotta read off the defects that are related to damage. So minor defect would be damaged tread or sidewall of tire. If you find that, you know what to say for the minor defects. Major defects would be tire tread depth is less than wear limit, tire is in contact with another tire or any vehicle component other than mud flap, tire has exposed cords in the tread or outer sidewall area. If any of these are found, you get it. You get it. Say the whole spiel. Next, they might ask you to check the hub oil. So for hub oil, the U-Haul does not have it. You would rub along here, make sure it's not leaking. You say the hub oil is above the minimum level.
Oh, if you're trying to hit it, look on the TD, RBC, Scotiabank, RBC, CIBC, PC Financial. Holla at me.
And you read off the defects related to hub oil. Actually, before you do that, you gotta say there's no evidence of imminent wheel hub or bearing failure after looking at that hub oil. Then you get under and look at the back of the wheel, and you say the same thing. There's no evidence of imminent wheel hub or bearing failure. And then you read your defects that are related to hub oil. So hub oil below minimum level, that's a minor defect. If that's found, you know what to say. Major defect would be evidence of imminent wheel hub or bearing failure. If that's found, you get it. Next, they might ask you to check the wheel fasteners. So you got to tighten each one, tighten each fastener, make sure they're all there, they're all tight, they're not damaged, they're not cracked. And then you say there's no evidence of imminent wheel hub or bearing failure. And you get under, look at the back, and you say there's no evidence of imminent wheel hub or bearing failure. Okay? And then you read off your defects related to the wheel fasteners. So there's no minor defects for that. Major defect would be wheel has loose, missing, or ineffective fastener. Or evidence of imminent wheel hub or bearing failure. If those are found, you know what to say. And that's it for the exterior inspection. Let's move on to the in-cab now.
Fantastic, Santana.
Baby like nothing when you pay me. Hit it from the side, baby girl, I was lazy. Off the E-pill, baby girl, I'm going crazy. See it tatted on my head, girl, the hood raised me.
Okay guys, so for the in-cab, you don't need to be reading off the defects off your Schedule 2. You just got to make sure to inspect everything. So to start, we need to start the car. Bus, U-Haul. Okay, it's started. There's no adventitious sounds coming from the engine. The dash lights up as normal. The driver's seat, you gotta adjust it. Make sure it locks into place. Okay, driver's seat locks into place. I don't see any damage to the driver's seat. The seat belts, you gotta yank it. Make sure it locks in a big impact. Okay. And then seat belts, there's no damage, there's no tears to the seat belts. It clicks into place, okay, it's secure, and it unclicks. You gotta make sure it unclicks. Okay, next, let's roll our windows up. There's no cracks or damage to any of the windows. There's full visibility through all the windows. And they roll all the way down, they roll all the way up without issue. The mirror is secure. You can ask the examiner to check everything on their side, but they're not gonna do all that. You look through your mirror. I have full visibility through both my mirrors. They are adjusted to me. Make sure that to say that the mirrors are adjusted to you. and there's no cracks or damage. I have full visibility. Yeah, that's the mirrors. Next, let's check the wheel. You gotta shake it. Okay, the wheel is secure. You gotta turn it all the way to the left. You can look out your window. You can see that the tire is moving in accordance with the steering wheel. Okay, move it all the way to the right. The wheel moves all the way to the right, all the way to the left without issue. There's no excessive free play or lashing. You gotta say that. Next, you wanna read off your dash. So the only warning light I have on right now is that I don't have my seatbelt on. To get rid of that, I've just plugged my seatbelt in. Coolant temperature, you gotta point at all these. You gotta point at everything that you're talking about. So coolant temperature is normal at around 100. Oil pressure is normal at around 300. Speedometer is at 0. We'll test that when the trip begins. Battery voltage is at 14. It's normal. And our fuel tank is at 7/8. We have enough fuel for the trip. Okay, next we'll check the windshield wipers. One mistake that a lot of people are making this mistake, is not checking all the wiper speeds. So you want to do that. So there's the first speed. Hold on. You got to get the fluid to wash off at every wiper speed. So that's the first speed. Second speed, spraying the fluid. Okay, it's wiping off. Next speed. There we go. Okay, the wipers wipe off the windshield washer fluid at every speed. Hold on. How do I turn these high beams off? Okay, there. Next, you want to inspect your...
I'm so overstimulated right now. What the fuck? Okay, go.
Next, you want to inspect your defrosters. So you want to check all the speeds. Again, you're going to put your hand up here. Make sure it's on the defrost setting here. Defroster, heat, slow speed. Okay, my wipers are still going off. All right. We're checking all the speeds. Second speed, okay, it's working. Third speed, working. Fourth speed. The defroster works. And you can check front facing as well if you feel like it. Yep, heater's working. There we go. Heater works at all the speeds. The U-Haul does not come with a fire extinguisher or a first aid kit, but we do have emergency triangles right in this box. So you can say that. We have that for our emergency equipment. And I think that's everything. I think that's the in-cab inspection. Okay. Interior inspection of the Schedule 2. Your examiner might ask you to inspect any of the things that I just pointed out, and then you'd have to read off the defects as well. So for example, if they ask you to inspect the doors and emergency exits, you would check if the windows roll up and down. You would check if the door opens and closes, and if the door is secure. You can also take a look at the latches on the side of the door when you open it to make sure there's no damage to those. And the U-Haul does not have an emergency exit, so you can pretend that the back doors are the emergency exit and verbalize how you would inspect those. Same thing. Make sure they open and close and that they're secure. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's a few of these interior inspections that might cause some issues. So for example, driver's seat. If they ask you to inspect the driver's seats, you check the seat for any damage, make sure that it sets in place, and you also have to check the seat belts. So it's a little weird because on the exterior, if they ask you to inspect something specific, you got to only inspect that. But in this section, if they tell you to inspect the driver's seat, you got to check everything that's on the schedule. So that includes the seat and the seat belts. Another one that might cause issues is the passenger compartment. Because this is a U-Haul, there is no passenger compartment. Normally the seats would be in the back there. So you can ask your examiner if they would like to get out, and we can go into the back and you can pretend like everything is in there. Or you can verbalize how you'd inspect everything. So you can say that there would be passenger seats in the back. You'd make sure they lock into place. You'd make sure that the seat belts lock and are secure. You'd make sure that the tether belts lock into place and are secure. No damage to anything. You would check the overhead compartments, make sure it's secure and not damaged. You would check the stanchion padding, and what that is when buses have poles, they put the padding on the poles in case somebody falls into them, you know, so they don't break their skull. So you would make sure there's stanchion padding present on the poles and that it's not damaged. And then you would read off the defects. Oh yeah, and you would have to inspect the steps as well and the floor to make sure they're good, not damaged. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the interior inspection. They might ask you to inspect some other things, like the windshield washer or the defroster. You know how to do that. I showed you, I taught you the ways. So then you just have to read off the defects. It's pretty easy at that point. And yeah, good luck. Good luck on your tests, people. I believe in you. And make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell in case I upload, you know, Roblox Let's Plays or maybe like a mukbang. I'll film some mukbangs. And yeah, stay tuned. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'm not going to be reading them, but maybe somebody else will help you out. And I'll leave some extra resources in the description, so go take a look at that. Anyway, peace out, YouTube.
Right now, dog. Yeah, eh? A man said your Jordans are fake. What? Yo, I put a man on 6 balls yesterday. No cap. Hold that. Don't come in here with them pants.
The man you snuff me kinda hard still, man, damn.
Sending you on a mission.
Crush that. We'll never let you down, top dog.
Trust me. Yo, where's my bread, family?
Allow me, fam. I'ma have the money tomorrow, wallahi. Nah, don't pull out the machine, fam. It doesn't have to go that far. I told you.
You have one more day.
So what? You think I'm not ready to ride out? You don't want no politics, fam. I'll have